chapter on brother and sister, and thankful Dickinson Smith arrives in this. This is the persona. Here we have the Deus ex machina appears in the arrival, and the full regala of the Hadley cousin, thankful Dickinson Smith, the unmarried daughter and only child of Samuel Fuller Dickinson's youngest sister, Anna, James her attendant, and apparently another cousin of some sort has not been identified. Emily warms up in mock heroic style. Quote, I would have given most anything to have had you here last evening. The scene was indeed too rich to be detailed by my pen, and I shall ever regret that the world has lost such a chance to laugh. She concludes the preliminaries with a word of father's rheumatism. He is getting better, and his kind thoughts of his son. Then the drama begins. This is about Emily Dickinson and her brother Austin. So, this may be written to Austin. Soon after tea, last night, a violent ring at the bell. Vinny, who is Emily's sister, obeys the summons. Mr. Harrington Brainard would like to see me at the door. I came walking in from the kitchen, frightened almost to death, and received the command from father, quote, not to stand at the door, for the cold, terrified beyond measure. I advanced to the outside door. Mr. H. has an errand, will not consent to come in on account of my father's sickness. Having dismissed him hastily, I retreat again to the kitchen, where I find Mother and Vinny making most desperate efforts to control themselves, but with little success. Once more, breathe freely, and conclude that my lungs were given me for only the best of purposes. Another ring at the door. Enter William Dickinson, soon followed by Mr. Thurston. Again I creep into the sitting room, more dead than alive, and endeavored to make conversation. Father looked around triumphantly. I remarked that the weather was rather cold today, to which they all assented. Indeed, I never witnessed such wonderful unanimity. Fled to my mind again, and endeavored to cure something equally agreeable with my last happy remark. Bethought me of Sabbath day, and the Reverend Mr. Bliss, who preached upon it, remarked with wonderful emphasis that I thought the reverend gentleman a very remarkable preacher, and discovered a strong resemblance between himself and Winfield in the way of remark. I confess it was rather laughable, having never so much as seen the ashes of that gentleman. But oh, such a look as I got from my rheumatic sire. You should have seen it. I never can find language to portray it to you. Well, pretty soon another pull at the bell. Enter thankful Smith, in the furs and robes of her ancestors, while James brings up the rear. That must be James Smith. Thankful Smith, James Smith. Austin, my cup was full. I endeavored to shrink away into primeval nothingness, but sat there large as life in spite of every effort. Finally, father, accompanied by the cousins, adjourned to the kitchen fire, and Vinny and I and our friends enjoyed the rest of the evening. Another theme in the letters, and perhaps the most insistent, is Emily's longing for Austin to come home. Ostensibly, it was for his sake. The precariousness of his health, which she seems to have exaggerated. The dullness of his work and his loneliness, which she assessed accurately, perhaps, but sentimentalized unduly. She rang the changes on the theme, perhaps, but sentimentalized unduly, so often as to tax the resources of even her rhetoric, and the more she persisted, the more her efforts appeared to have been for her own sake rather than his. Her loneliness is the most frequent claim on him, and her constant appeals to his loyalty to the family make it seem they were fairly languishing for him. Father depended on him, and mother wept when he failed to show up. And he, as much might be expected, bore up best. How much strategy there was in all this is hard to tell, but the letters are scarcely the selfless attempts one might expect from a sister, encouraging a young man to face the world on his own, a kind of encouragement young man Austin needed. At one point, when father was away, he made a fake admission. She made a frank admission. If I am selfish, Austin, I tell you, you must come home. To get Austin home, Emily tried many devices. She took the part of the solicitous sister worrying about his eye trouble, his facial neuralgia, or his laundry, all real enough problems. She spoke in the siren's voice. Duty is black and brown. Home is bright and shining. Or shifting from satiric and dramatic, she became the pastoral poet with a touch of the lover. Her letter of October 17, 1851 concludes in a hidden poem. Quote, don't think that the sky will frown, so the day when you come home. Don't think that the sky will frown, so the day when you come home. She will smile and look happy, and he be full of sunshine then. And even should she frown upon her child returning, there's another sky, ever serene and fair, and there's another sunshine. Though it be darkness there, never mind, faded forest. Austin, never mind, silent fields. Here is a little forest whose leaf is evergreen. Here is a brighter garden, where not a frost has been in its unfading flowers. I hear the bright bee hum, prithee, my brother, into my garden come. The letters of October 1851 are particularly intense, and the one written 1 week after this, on the 25th, shows her in still other moods, including the nostalgic and homiletic. Quote, you had a windy evening going back to Boston, and we thought of you many times and hoped you would not be cold. Our fire burned so cheerfully, I couldn't help thinking of how many were here and how many were away. And I wished so many times during that long evening that the door would open and you come walking in. Home is a holy place. Nothing of doubt or distrust can enter its blessed portals. I feel it more and more as the great world goes on and one another forsake in whom you place your trust. Here seems indeed to be a bit of Eden, which not the sin of any can utterly destroy. Smaller it is indeed, and it may be less fair, but fair it is, and brighter than all the world beside. I hope this year in Boston will not impair your health, and I hope you will be as happy as you used to be before. I don't wonder it makes you sober to leave this blessed air. If it were in my power, I would on every morning transmit its purest breaths, fragrant and cool to you, which I wish you could have. 1,000 little winds waft it to me this morning, fragrant with forest leaves and bright autumnal berries. I would be willing to give you my portion for the day and take the salt sea's breath in its bright bounding steed. That's a letter. Seems from Emily Dickinson to Austin, her brother. In the chapter on brother und a sister, page 435. That chapter had Thankful Smith in it.